Throughout my life, I have been socially active. I would say that in the last few decades, though, my activism has centered on health activism, and specifically women's health activism. I was one of the founders of our local breast cancer alliance that supported women through breast cancer. That was back in the 90s. And at that time, I had also started working at Planned Parenthood as a pregnancy options and sexual health counselor. And since I retired in 2020, I've continued being very active in the area of reproductive rights and reproductive justice. I am involved with a group. I actually have been involved with this group for about 6 or 7 years, called End Abortion Stigma, shortened to EAS. And we originally came together to be a bellwether for younger generations, because we already were concerned that women's reproductive rights were very fragile. And we had stories to tell about what we experienced before abortion, for instance, was legalized, and before we had access to birth control, and before we knew anything about sexuality, because our sex education was nil, or very deficient. So that's what this group does, and we do this in many different ways, because there are many people with very, very different talents and areas of expertise. So we do it on a political level, and we do it on a storytelling level, and we do it, through writing, both creative and nonfiction. Politically, I have become a letter writer to the newspapers. I've always been an educator, a health educator, and I've always liked to write. And so I am now just taking my experience and putting it into words. Being able to hopefully inform the public about the truth and the facts about sexual health and the reasons that people choose abortion. In our community, we also have some crisis pregnancy centers that are disseminators of misinformation and disinformation. They're really, I feel, a public health danger and a danger to individuals who are really seeking information to help them make decisions and to be sexually healthy. That's sort of been a clarion cry for me. I feel like they really need to be exposed. I am really kind of shocked that our public health infrastructure, our Department of Health, it isn't only in New York State, but it's really across the country, has allowed these pregnancy centers to exist and do what they do without any oversight. I am not a visual artist. I'm not creative in that way. In terms of painting and drawing. We went around the room and we all talked about the specific sphere of activism, that we were engaged in. Our fearless leader, Caryl, was trying to extract from us sort of how we visualized getting our message across. And then she like put pieces of paper and paints and markers in front of everyone, and she said, "Okay, let's get to work." And everybody just kind of dove in, and I sat there and looked blankly at my piece of paper. Anyway, I was really, really stuck, paralyzed. Caryl was very supportive, and she was definitely a helpmate. I sort of had a plan or an idea of, based on the work I did at Planned Parenthood, what was the message that I really did want to get across about abortion. And that message was that, women do not make abortion decisions casually. They don't make them selfishly. They don't make them thoughtlessly. They really, they understand, they suspect, they have experience about what it takes to parent and the enormity of it. And, and they think quite seriously and deeply about this decision. And I really felt like it was important to communicate, how different women are and how different their stories are. And in my piece, I covered the gamut, women who were just delighted and excited about being pregnant and who had wanted to do this their entire life and had gone through, in vitro. And, women who had very profound issues in their life that they saw as interfering with the kinds of lives that they wanted to give a child or another child within their family. And, just doing this work really changed me. It really changed me. Well, first of all, it felt like a huge privilege for women to take me into their confidences like this and talk about such an area where there's so much vulnerability, and so much conflict. I've always respected women. It just really deepened my esteem for this decision, the decision that, and women wrestling with this decision and everything they were taking into consideration. And it came from so many different directions. Making art in a group was an entirely new experience, and it was so fun. And we were so supportive of each other. Each piece sort of became a collaboration because everybody was giving feedback, always very supportively. We were all getting ideas from each other, as well as Caryl, who had, was tremendously expert in all of this. But it was just so cool. It was just one of those experiences that was really immersive, where you just felt like you had been on a vacation in a way, because the rest of the world fell away. And I think, that's what creative stuff can do for a person, It can just put them in a completely different place. I've never been able to go it alone, So I have always, I've always been part of groups, So when we founded the Ithaca Breast Cancer Alliance, there were 6 of us. So I would absolutely say that groups are essential. Also, groups are a place where you really can work through the hardest stuff about how you're feeling about whatever you're working on. And there's a lot of brainstorming that goes on. And that is just the help of solving problems and figuring out approaches and perspectives is really extremely helpful. So I guess I would say, just find a group or create a group.
Women's rights are human rights. Women's rights are human rights.